Hey, NeverEndingReferrals community, Coach Steve Schlueter. Hey, we kicked off here recently a mindset segment. We did a full hour on mindset on one of our sessions, and we said we're going to be bringing you a couple of times a month some mindset hacks. Some ways that simple strategies where you get this thing working for you instead of against you. How do we make positive psychology work for us in our business, in our lives? So today I'm going to take you through a little hack that comes from Dan Sullivan, the strategic coach, and his book, The Gap and the Gain. So let me pull up this slide real quick and just give you some perspective on this. So in Dan Sullivan's book, he talks about this tendency. He, in fact, even talked about having rooms of a couple hundred executives. And he said, how many of you feel like you're successful? And he said 0 to 3 hands would go up. And by most people's standards, these are people that have really achieved. And what was the challenge? Well, they were comparing themselves to the gap of what they believed was their ideal. And so when we look at this diagram here, we all started our business, our personal life, whatever goals we have for ourselves somewhere. We had a starting point. And we're at some place today. We've achieved what we've achieved up to this point in time. And we all have an ideal. We have, this is the place I desire to be. I'm not there yet. And yet where people get into frustration, maybe even into disappointment, poor low self-esteem, guilt, because they feel like they should be further along, as they're measuring against the gap. They're going, still got this huge mountain to climb. I haven't accomplished these things. And that's their measurement. Now, what Dan Sullivan says, the key to really breaking through some of your performance is to AMB, always measure backwards. Look at the journey that you've already experienced in success. So let's look at the gain side. So I've achieved what I've achieved. I still have an ideal that I'm not at yet, but I first start out measuring backwards. What have I accomplished? What have been the lessons along the way? What were those incremental baby step compounding victories that have taken me from my starting place to where I'm at today? I mean, let's take an example. Let's say my ideal is to lose 30 pounds and I've lost 12. Well, there are lessons in the loss of those 12 pounds that I can then use to take me the rest of the journey. And yet if I keep focusing on the gap, maybe I'm not there. I intend to be there by now, but I'm not. But there are still lessons when I measure backwards. What are the victories that I've had? And what we often find is there's little baby steps, there's little insights, there's little learnings that will actually give you the fuel and the perspective and the insight to make the move from where you currently are towards the ideal. And by the way, the ideal is always a challenge because it can constantly be moving. You go to a conference and you see somebody achieving something that you hadn't even considered yet, and now you have a new ideal. And it can seem like it gets farther and farther away and more elusive. So I'm going to give you a little exercise. Here's a little life hack that you can start to practice putting this in play today. And that is today at, hour before you go to bed, is turn off your device, put it aside, get a journal out and write down 3 wins for the day. Go claim 3 victories that you had. And they can be simple things, and claim them. And then we're going to use a term called selective intention, a strategy called selective intention. And after we've claimed our wins, we're going to go ahead and selectively choose our 3 intentions for the next day. Where are the 3 wins I intend to have tomorrow? In fact, we used to talk about this in bold. We would say your day begins the night before. And using this process of selective intention is go ahead and start programming yourself for victories. What are the 3 wins that I choose to have tomorrow? And they don't have to be big. You'll find generally when you measure backwards that some of the things that have set you on your path, well, folks, they've been incremental small steps. They've been baby steps. Gary Keller teaches a program called Quantum Leap, and quantum sounds big, but it's really small. And so it's these small compounding efforts that are probably going to now allow us to navigate from, what we've achieved towards, the ideal. And yet the lessons, the insights are when we measure backwards, we get an opportunity to get those. And, there's a lot more. I did 42 pages of exercises from the book, The Gap and the Gain. So, if you want to take this deeper, get the book. It's by Dan Sullivan. But here's a little life hack. Start with 3 wins each day and selective intention to choose your 3 wins for the next day. Let your day begin the night before and get this thing working for you, not against you. That's it for today. We'll talk to you soon.